By the time the young woman with the clipboard set the leather folder down in front of me, my son and his wife had been gone 11 minutes. 11 minutes, and one soft lie about a sick child at home. The folder held the final bill for a party of 14, the raw bar on crushed ice, the reserve Cabernet my daughter-in-law had ordered without once glancing at the price, the dessert flight she'd waved into being for the table, and every dollar of it was addressed to me. Not because I'd ordered any of it, because my name was the only name on the reservation. Simone had made sure of that 3 weeks earlier. We'll put it under you, Vivian. You get the member rate. I was 74 years old, sitting alone at a long table set for a celebration that was, I had been told, in my honor. And what Grady and Simone never once thought to check in 9 years of living the way they lived was whose name sat on the deed of the house they slept in every night. It was mine. It had been mine and mine alone since the week after I buried their father. That invoice on the white tablecloth was the smallest thing they left me holding that autumn. It was only the one I could see. It was a Thursday, 10 minutes past 9. One of those October evenings outside Charlotte where the air still remembers summer and the crickets haven't been told to stop. I sat very still. My hands did not shake. I did not cry. The coordinator, Danielle, a kind girl who had been watching that table all night with the particular stillness of someone who has realized that only one person here is not in on the arrangement, asked if I'd like to settle now or wait. I asked her to bring me a coffee, black, and to give me a moment. Then I did what I have learned to do in the long quiet of my life. I sat, and I looked, and I let myself understand exactly what had just happened, and exactly what would happen next. Welcome to Where Grace Remains, where quiet women tell the stories the world stopped listening to. Before I go on, tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight, and what the hour is where you are. I read them. I read all of them. And if you have ever loved someone who slowly, politely stopped showing up for you, stay with me. You're going to want to hear how this one ends. So let me take you back to the beginning. Warren and I were married 41 years. He sold agricultural insurance to farmers who trusted him because he never once talked down to them. And he built me a screened porch with his own 2 hands the summer I turned 50 because I'd said once, in passing, that I wished I could sit outside without the mosquitoes. That was the kind of man he was. Love with Warren was never a thing that got announced. It was a thing that got built. When he died 8 years ago now, a heart that simply stopped one morning between the coffee and the newspaper. I learned the true shape of my family in about 6 weeks, not from the funeral. Everyone comes to the funeral. I learned it from the silence after, when the casserole stopped and the phone stopped and the house got very large. Grady was 38 when his father passed. My only child. He'd been an easy boy, a boy who cried at the ends of movies and once walked a mile in the rain to return $1 he'd been given too much in change. I want you to hear that, because it matters later. He was not born unkind. He married Simone the year Warren got sick. She was elegant and quick, and she had a way of making a room feel like it had been arranged for her before she arrived. I liked her. I want to be honest about that. For a while, I liked her very much. The house was the beginning of everything. When Warren died, his life insurance and the sale of the home we'd raised Grady in left me with more than I'd ever expected. Grady's own place was small, and Simone was pregnant with their second. And there was a house across town in the district with the good schools, the one with the dogwoods that turned the whole street pink in April. I bought it. Cash. No mortgage, no loan, no bank. I put the deed in my own name, and I told Grady the truth as I understood it then. You and the children live here. When you're on your feet, we'll talk about making it yours. He hugged me in the driveway and said, Mom, I'll pay you back every cent, I promise. I believed him. Grief makes you believe things. It softens the part of you that reads the fine print, because the fine print feels like a betrayal of the person you just lost. That was 9 years ago. In 9 years, no one ever brought up paying me back again. Not once. The house simply became our house in the way they spoke of it. My name on the deed became a fact so buried that I think they honestly forgot it. I kept paying the property taxes, I kept the homeowner's insurance in my name, and the HOA dues came out of my account on the 9th of every month, quietly, the way I do most things. And somewhere in those 9 years, without my ever agreeing to it, I stopped being the woman who bought the house. I became the poor grandmother they were kind enough to carry. I want to tell you the small things, because the small things are where it actually lives. It is never one grand cruelty. It is 1,000 tiny reassignments of your chair. There was the spring recital 3 years back, where Simone seated her own parents in the second row and put me at a table near the doors so you can slip out early if your knees act up. My knees are fine. There was the Thanksgiving where I brought a quilt I'd spent 4 months stitching for the new baby my mother's pattern, the one her mother taught her, and it went into a closet, folded, while the store-bought blanket from Simone's sister lay across the crib for the photographs. I found my quilt 6 months later, still in its tissue paper. And there was the afternoon my granddaughter Poppy, who was 5, looked up at me in my own kitchen and asked, "Grandma, is it true you can't buy things anymore? Mommy said we help you." She wasn't being cruel. She was 5. She'd simply been told somewhere that Grandma was poor and Grandma needed helping and Grandma should be grateful. I had bought the roof over that child's head. And she thought I couldn't buy myself a coat. Growing older never made me a burden. It only showed me who had already decided I was one. Have you felt that? Where someone you gave your whole life to begins, very gently, to treat you like a charity they're tired of? Tell me, have you ever done too much for a child who decided, somewhere along the way, that you were an inconvenience? Just write me below. You don't have to explain it. I'll be reading. I know exactly how heavy that one word can be. The other thing you should know is that I was never actually alone in it, though it felt like it for a long time. There was Harriet. Harriet Vance and I met 35 years ago over a disagreement about a raffle table at the garden club, and we've been arguing and loving each other ever since. She spent 40 years as a real estate attorney, the kind who read every line of every document 3 times and then read it once more for spite. She retired the year Warren died. And the night after his funeral, when Grady and Simone had gone back to their hotel and the house had emptied out, and I was standing in my kitchen at 2 in the morning not knowing how to be a person anymore, it was Harriet who was there. She'd never left. She slept in my guest room for 4 nights. She made coffee at dawn and put it in my hands and said nothing, because she understood that some griefs don't want words, they want a witness. She stayed. 2 words, but I have built a great deal of my survival on those 2 words. Harriet had watched the slow shrinking of my chair for years. She never lectured me. She's not that kind. But about 3 years ago, over her kitchen table, she'd said one thing and then let it sit. "Vivian, you know that house is yours. Not morally, legally. Whenever you decide you're tired of being a guest in a home you paid for, you call me. I'll be ready in an hour." I'd changed the subject. I wasn't ready. I loved my son. I kept telling myself it would turn, that Simone would soften, that the next holiday would be different. The party was supposed to be different. Simone organized it. "A celebration of you, Vivian," she said, "for everything you do for this family." I should have heard it then. Everything you do. Present tense, a phrase for a servant, not a mother. She booked the venue under my name for the member discount. She built the guest list. Her parents, her sister, 2 of her friends I'd met exactly once. Grady, the children, me, 14. She chose the wine. She chose the raw bar. She chose the dessert flight for the table. And I sat at the head of a table full of people who were there. I slowly realized to watch me be celebrated with food I was quietly paying for. The tell came at 8:51. I know because I looked at the clock. Simone's phone lit up and she gasped a small, rehearsed gasp and said the sitter had texted, the baby was running a fever, they had to go right now. And then she did something I have never been able to unsee. Before she stood up, in the middle of a family emergency, she took out a small gold tube and reapplied her lipstick. A woman rushing to a feverish child does not stop to line her mouth in the mirror of her phone. A woman leaving on schedule does. Grady was already up. He'd already summoned the car. A man frightened for his baby does not have the valet ticket in his hand before his wife finishes her sentence. They had rehearsed this in the car on the way over. I would learn later that I was right about that. I'm always right about the things I don't want to be right about. Mom, you stay. Enjoy yourself. Take your time, Grady said, and he kissed the top of my head, and they were gone. The children were left with me, Miles, who is 10, and Poppy, now 7, because of course they were. You cannot chase your son out of a restaurant in front of 2 grandchildren who adore you. The children are the reason a grandmother stays seated. They knew that. Careful people always know that. So I sat with the 2 of them, and I let Poppy finish her ice cream, and I ordered Miles a hot chocolate, and when they'd gone to look at the koi pond by the window, Danielle brought me the folder. $6,840. I paid my own portion, the salmon and the 1 glass of wine I'd actually had, and I asked Danielle, very quietly, to leave the rest open and note the table as a departed party. She looked at the empty chairs, and she looked at me, and something crossed her face. Ma'am, she said, I don't want to overstep, but this is the second time this year a party under a different name has left this account holder to close it out. There's a note in our system. I asked her to print me that note with the date. She did. She was gentle about it. Kindness, I have learned, has nothing at all to do with blood. Then I took out my phone and I photographed the empty chairs and I called Harriet. She picked up on the second ring. I told her, the wine, the raw bar, the sitter, the lipstick, the valet ticket, the note in the system, the $6,800, and the 2 grandchildren I was now driving home. When I finished, there was a silence, and then Harriet said, in that dry, level voice of hers, Vivian, I have 3 things I need you to do. Don't sign anything else tonight. Don't say a word to Grady before you sleep. And come to my kitchen at 8 tomorrow and bring the deed and the tax records. Then she said, softer. I've been waiting 3 years for this call. Warren's been waiting longer. Come at 8. I almost laughed. I drove the children home. I did not raise my voice. I've never had to. Harriet's kitchen the next morning smelled like coffee and toast and 40 years of somebody who reads the fine print. She had a folder ready before I sat down. Here's where you actually are, she said, and she laid it out for me plain. The house was mine, free and clear. No mortgage, no lien, no bank between me and that address. Grady and Simone had lived there 9 years, as what the law would simply call occupants, not owners, not tenants. Even they'd never signed a thing, never paid $1 of rent, never once been formally anything but people I let stay. There was no HELOC to untangle, no co-signature, no clever clause. There was just a deed with 1 name on it, and that name was mine. And 9 years of everyone agreeing to forget it did not change a single letter. You have every ordinary right a homeowner has, Harriet said. You can decide what happens under your own roof. The question isn't what you're allowed to do, Vivian. You've always been allowed. The question is what you actually want. I don't want to put my grandchildren on the street, I said. I want that on the record. I will not do that. I know, she said. You won't, so we won't. But hear me, there's a wide country between throwing them out and letting them keep spending you like a card with no limit. Let me show you the middle of it. And she did. A mother's love isn't a line of credit. Some children just spend it like one and then act startled the first time the account asks for a statement. Here is what we built over 2 mornings at that kitchen table, and I want to tell you clearly because I think a lot of you have been made to believe you have no options and you have more than they've let you know. We drafted a letter, not an angry one. Harriet said the angry ones lose in every room that matters, and besides, anger was never what I felt. What I felt was tired of pretending. The letter did 3 simple things. It told Grady and Simone, gently, that the informal arrangement of the last 9 years was ending not because I was casting them out, but because it had never been honest, and I was too old to keep living inside a story where I was poor and they were generous. It offered them a choice. They could purchase the house from me at its appraised value with their own financing, and it would truly be theirs at last, the way Grady had promised in the driveway all those years ago. Or they could stay as proper tenants on a proper lease, paying fair market rent every month, the ordinary way grown adults pay to live somewhere. Or they could take 90 days and find a home of their own. Any of the 3. Their choice, freely made. And the letter quietly closed the other faucets I'd left running for years without anyone thanking me. The club account Simone charged her lunches to mine, canceled. The children's activity fees I paid without being asked, those I would still pay, directly, because the children owe no debt in this. But the rest of the invisible river of money that flowed out of my accounts to hold up a life that called me a burden, that river was diverting back into its bed. Harriet had the appraisal run. We both knew what it would show. They could not buy the house. Not on what they made, not with what they'd spent. Which meant, when the letter arrived, they would face a very old and very simple truth. They could either pay me honestly every month to live in my house, or they could leave it. There was no version left where they lived off me for free and called it carrying me. Every month, Harriet said, and there was the faintest smile in it. Simone is going to sit down and write a rent check, and she's going to mail it to her landlord. And her landlord is the woman she told a 5-year-old was too poor to buy a coat. I've been doing this 40 years, Vivian. I have never once written a document that delivered a sermon this quietly. I don't want to punish him, I said. I want him to understand that I am not the account. I'm his mother. Those are not the same thing, and he stopped being able to tell the difference. Then that, she said, is exactly what this does. The check will be small enough that they can pay it. It'll be large enough that they'll feel it every month. That's the whole point of it. We sent the letter by certified mail on Monday. 3 pages. Unfailingly polite. It landed like a stone through still water. Now I know some of you are sitting there thinking the thing my poppy might one day think, the thing I ask myself at that kitchen table. Is this too hard? Is a mother allowed to do this to her own son? So, let me ask you honestly, because I've asked it of myself 100 times since. If you have ever had to choose your own dignity over someone you loved, someone whose face you'd still run into a fire for, tell me below. Just say it. You are not alone in that room. I promise you, you are not alone in it. The voicemail started before the letter even arrived because Grady got the credit card alert from the venue first. The first one came Sunday morning. Mom, I just got the charge from the party. The account says the balance is still open on your what happened? Did you not settle it? The venue's calling me, call me back. I noticed something in that message. He said what happened, not I'm sorry we left you. He'd remembered the bill. He hadn't yet remembered me. The second came that afternoon, quieter. Mom, I talked to the venue. I saw what all was on there. The wine, the raw bar, all of it. I didn't. I should have said something about how it added up. I'm sorry about the order, I really am. I sat with that one a while. An apology that begins with the money and ends nowhere near the leaving has its priorities showing, doesn't it? He was sorry about the bill. He had not yet found his way to being sorry about the chair. The third came late Wednesday, after the letter, and it was different. His voice was small in a way I hadn't heard since he was a boy returning $1 in the rain. Mom, I read your letter. I read it 4 times. And I need to tell you the truth about that night, because I think you already know it and I can't stand you knowing it and me pretending you don't. The thing about the sitter, Simone and I talked about it in the car before we even walked in. She said if the total looked like it was going to be big, we'd do the sitter text and go. And I let her. I told myself we'd square it up with you later. But I knew, Mom. I knew when I stood up. I knew when I let the valet bring the car around. I've known for a lot longer than one night. I'm so sorry. That one I did not delete. That one I saved. Not because it fixed anything, because it was at last in the right order. Simone called Harriet directly. The number was on the letter. She introduced herself. Harriet told me later, as Mrs. Vivian Rourke's daughter-in-law, calling about a misunderstanding. She said I was having a grief spiral. She said I needed family, not paperwork. She offered to come to my house that evening to talk woman to woman and put this to bed. And Harriet, 40 years of reading the fine print behind every word of it, said, any visit made to Mrs. Rourke's home, without counsel present, to pressure an elderly woman about her own property, goes straight into the file. And the phrase grief spiral, I'd retire that one, if I were you. It shows up a great deal in the records of adult children trying to have a parent declared incompetent. I'd hate for a jury to hear you'd used it. Simone hung up. She did not come to my house. She has still, to this day, never used the phrase grief spiral again. Grady came on Saturday. He stood on my porch in a shirt he hadn't ironed, his eyes rimmed red, and I opened the door halfway. Mom, can I come in? You can sit on the porch bench, I said. I'll take the chair. We'll talk for 20 minutes. Then you'll go, and if you'd like, we'll talk again in 2 weeks. Those are the rules now. Can you live with them? Yes, he said. He sat. I sat. He cried for a little while and I let him, and I did not soften because softening too soon is how I got here in the first place. Then I said, tell me what you understand, Grady, not what you're sorry for. What you understand. He took a long breath. I understand that I spent 9 years letting my wife make my mother smaller, and I told myself I was keeping the peace. I understand that the bill at that party wasn't one bad night. It was just the night the chair finally turned into a paper cup, and somebody handed it to me and I finally saw it. I understand the letter isn't you being cruel, it's you being done pretending. Mom, I understand the deed says your name. It always said your name. I just stopped looking. I closed my eyes. The lease stands, I said. You'll pay me rent every month, and it'll be an honest number, and every month you'll feel it a little. That's not to hurt you. That's to remind you the difference between a mother and a machine because you forgot it, and this is how you'll remember. The house was always going to be yours someday. Grady, the ordinary way, if you'd ever once treated me like a person instead of a fund. That door's not closed, but we're going to earn our way back to it honestly this time. Both of us. He nodded. He was crying again, but quiet now. The children come here every Saturday for as long as I'm breathing, I said. Through my front door. You can bring them. You can stay. Simone can come back into my home when she's ready to write me an apology that doesn't spend the whole page explaining why none of it was really her fault. Until then, she can mail the rent. And she can tell Poppy the truth that her grandmother bought her that pink dogwood street and that being generous and being a bank are not the same thing. And one of them says thank you. They didn't think I was poor, you know. That's the part that took me longest to see. They needed me to be. It was easier to take from a woman they were carrying than from a woman who was carrying them. Grady stood to go. At the door, he turned and said, "I love you, Mom." "I know, sweetheart," I said. "That's the only reason any of this is worth doing." That night, I sat on the screened porch. Warren built me with his own 2 hands, with a cup of coffee gone half cold, and I did not feel triumphant. There was nothing to win. You don't win your family back with a certified letter. But I'll tell you what I did feel. For the first time in 9 long years, I felt the shape of my own face when it isn't arranged into a smile for somebody else's comfort. I'd worn that smile so long I'd forgotten it was a costume. And Simone mails a rent check on the 1st of every month now, and it clears. And somewhere in the writing of it, I hope she is slowly learning the thing my son finally learned on my porch. Growing older never made me a burden. It only showed me who had already decided I was one, and it showed me, just as clearly, who drove 3 hours in the rain to sit with me when the house went silent, and who slept in my guest room, and who was ready in an hour. Because family isn't who you're born to, family is who stays. If this story found a quiet place in your heart, the kindest thing you can do is subscribe and sit with me a while. There's another woman's story waiting, and she's been waiting a long time to be heard. And tell me, before you go, would you have sent the letter? Have you ever had to teach the people you love the difference between loving you and using you? And is there someone, a Harriet, a stranger, a friend who wasn't blood who showed up for you when the ones who should have didn't? Say their name below. Let them know they mattered. I'll be reading every single one. Until the next one, take good care of yourself. You still matter. You always did.